Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. I'm going to do your September the 25th spiritual principle a day in a meditation. Let's go ahead and get into that meditation. I feel like I'm talking like a robot today, very slow and methodical. So I hope that's no indication as to how I'm going to read. Okay, the meditation is entitled Honesty and Self-Awareness. Honesty is the antidote to our diseased thinking. That comes from the basic text, chapter 9, just for today, living the program. Looking back at our using days, it's easy to see how our outlook on life morphed to accommodate and justify our choices. Self-delusion had become second nature. It takes effort and practice to embrace honesty instead. Even before we got clean, there were clues that honesty might have helped to counter our distorted thinking. At some point in our using, many of us experienced a moment of clarity, although we probably didn't have those words to describe it. Instead of the usual lies we told ourselves, we encountered a sudden wave of understanding in which we realized some essential truths about ourselves. The veil of denial lifted, if only for a moment, to give us an undistorted view of ourselves and the mess we made. It wasn't pretty. That brief encounter with reality stuck with us and wore us down until we were ready to try something new. Eventually, we make it to the rooms and identify ourselves as newcomers. We give our real name, take a breath, and add, I am an addict. This admission transforms a tired old excuse into an affirmation and positions us for the first of the 12 steps. With the steps as our guide, we honestly confront the wreckage of our past and establish practices that help us maintain our connection to reality. Recovery is a collective practice, and community is essential to learning about honesty. Real friends support our efforts to be true to ourselves, to choose actions that align with our aspirations, and to help us spot when we're in trouble. I surround myself with people who aren't satisfied when I tell them I'm fine, when they know better. In public, they let that slide. They give me the side eye and say, really? In private, they ask questions that challenge me to get honest, like, what are you afraid of? And where would you be without that defect? Our delusions crumble under such scrutiny. Resisting well rehearsed, unhealthy patterns takes this kind of support and a whole lot of courage. Honesty frees us from diseased thinking each time we choose to voice our concerns instead of censoring ourselves, reveal our insecurities instead of acting like a know it all, practice some humility, or practice rather, or practice some humility instead of thinking we're too good or not good enough. I'll take some time to honestly evaluate any feelings and behavior I've avoided looking at. I will get a better perspective by putting pen to paper and talking to another addict in recovery. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Wow, so I just had an epiphany during this meditation, honesty and self-awareness. So for many of us, I believe what I am consciously aware of right now is that we spend a lot of time creating an illusion. We create the illusion so that onlookers or people that are somehow observing us don't get the real deal. They don't get who we really are. It's not that we aren't okay with who we really are. I'm assuming we're in recovery and we're trying to improve ourselves, right, for a reason. So I'm not implying that we're not okay with ourselves. I am saying that we pick and choose who we present our complete selves to, right? We choose who we let in. The person in this story is talking about having, having a friend who will actually let them get away, slide with some of that facade that they have in public, but then ask them later, what was that all? Ask them later, what was that all about? Right. And that they appreciate that because our delusions crumble under such scrutiny. I still believe that there's a tendency for me and others, I'm sure, that we have this face that we use in public. We have a face that we use when we're dealing with other people that aren't close to us because the energy that we use to expend in trying to, I want to say, flip flop between roles with people was just too tiring. Right? It took a lot out of us. Sometimes we had to use just to be able to deal with the cycling of all these personalities that we were presenting. They're all lies, right? Or maybe there's some truth to what we're presenting, but not complete truth. So I think what happens in this world today, especially after the pandemic, is that we're all used to having to be masked anyway to go out. Right now, some phones have face recognition that include the mask, right? We're so used to having to be masked anyway. And now that we don't have to be, we almost operate. I still see people parking their cars every other parking space, right? I still see people that wear their mask. And I guess, COVID is on its way back again, right? So it's a big surprise, right? So people are still masking themselves, even though they're not masking, wearing a mask. And I think what happens for us addicts is just super convenient to be masked, right? Um, but it's easier to wear one mask than try to navigate ourselves through wearing various masks, various facades. And it just occurred to me that people that know me consider me to be warm, loving and caring, kind, funny individual. People who don't know me, that I mask, right, myself when I'm dealing with them, consider me to be unapproachable, very serious, and philosophical. That's just the broad sweep of it. And some of that is my personality, but that's the part of my personality I present because I don't really want to deal with what you think about me, right? I don't want to see that in your eyes. So let me just give you this one piece of me and let you decide whether or not you're going to accept it or not, whether or not you're going to approach or not. And if you approach, then I can go into the other depth, right? The other realm of who I am. But this is what I present just in general when I'm out, right? And so I think that what I'm learning from this is that honesty and self-awareness, honesty is the antidote to our disease thinking. If I have come this far in life working that way, how much further would my life go if I release that seriousness? If I release it? Still to this day, I have sponsees, I believe, that when I say I believe, I know I have them. But when they approach me, they are not coming with all of the truth because of that broad, sweet personality that I have of seriousness, right? And that's a disservice. And the thought, the epiphany that came to me is I'm a much better friend than I am a sponsor. That is the epiphany that came to me during this, because I do know when you're working with people in recovery, they come with a lot of bags, and they only unpack the bags according to the level one that they're comfortable at. But also, as they unpack a bag or two, they're monitoring to see how you respond, right? And my response is always the same. It really doesn't ever change when I'm working with people in recovery. It really doesn't ever change. What step are we talking about? And where do you see you can change? And do you want to? Some people need more than that. Some people need more than that. Some people need to literally be shown and spend time in your presence so that they see how you live it and not just hear you tell them or ask them questions that cause them to dig maybe deeper than they want to go, but in a lot of times are willing to go. So, not willing to go, able to go. So sometimes they need something more than that, right? Instead of being confronted with having to always make a decision about how much do you really want to change or do you really want to, maybe it's just they don't know how to and they need to be shown. And that takes time. That takes time. And admittedly, probably more than I have at the moment, but things will change. My name is Mike Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose as you consider how honesty and self awareness can work for you in your recovery.